Well, back again. So now we've got something that Adventists, all Adventists should be of interest to them. Now, the Catholic Church, the Adventists have a very well defined, very uh, extensive last day belief about their involvement, the Adventist involvement in last days. So the Catholic Church does not quite. They have some general ideas, but and people are actually allowed to read. Let me put this up a little bit closer. So the Catholics are actually allowed to read Daniel and Revelation, and they're not required. They don't have a whole lot of things that they're required to believe. So, anyway, but there is some of the stuff that Catholics teach about the last days and about the Catholics in the last days. So, we will start there, and hopefully, you will find this interesting because if you're going to talk about Catholicism, which Adventism tends to do, they want to talk about Catholicism, we want to at least let you know what Catholics teach. And that way, you won't get it wrong. There's no reason to get it wrong because it's very widely available. As a matter of fact, if you want to read with us as we read through the Catechism, which is the official belief, this is where you go to get the official beliefs of what Catholics teach, and not through individual quotes, not even through uh, books that the church approves of, because it doesn't necessarily mean it's what Catholics have to believe. It's just usually the Neil Obstat and the other one is given when there is nothing in the book that can harm your soul. So that isn't an endorsement of what is being written. It is simply a it is just letting Catholics know that there's nothing supremely heretical that can put your soul at risk if you read and believe. Okay, so okay, we're going to go to the Catechism, and we're going to sections 675, and this is under the heading of the Church's ultimate trial. Before Christ's second coming, the church must pass through a final trial that will shake the faith of many believers. The persecution that accompanies her pilgrimage on earth will unveil the mystery of iniquity in the form of religious deception, offering men an apparent solution to their problems at the price of apostasy from the truth. Now, that kind of sounds a little bit familiar, doesn't it? The Great Controversy has kind of a similar situation happening to Adventists, but that's an Adventist believe it's going to be because of the Catholics and apostate Protestantism. The Catholic Church also has always preached that right before Christ there will be a test and persecution. All right, we're still in 675. The supreme religious deception is that of the Antichrist, a pseudo messianism by which man glorifies himself in place of God and of his Messiah come in the flesh. Isn't that interesting? Now, I know the Jews finally gave up on well, many of them did, gave up on the idea of an actual Messiah, human being, and it would be a messianic age. Well, it's kind of interesting because Catholics believe in an antichrist, and it's interesting to note that if you go to the book of John, John is the only one that talks about the Antichrist. And in his, it's not in his gospel either, it's in his epistles. And he, uh, 4 times talks about the Antichrist and gives the definition and what the Antichrist believes. But what he does say is Antichrists will leave Catholicism. They said they will leave us, and that's how we know that they're antichrists. So anyway, okay. So here is this Antichrist, and this is more than just a Antichrist. The Catholics believe there's going to be the Antichrist, a man of sin. Okay. And so this Antichrist glorifies himself in the place of God and of his Messiah come in the flesh. 676 says, the Antichrist's deception already begins to take shape in the world every time the claim is made to realize within history that messianic hope, which can only be realized beyond the history through the eschatological judgment. Okay, let's read that again, because that's a difficult sentence, isn't it? The Antichrist deception already begins to take shape in the world every time the claim is made to realize within history that messianic hope, which can only be realized beyond history through the eschatological judgment. So I say, don't be looking to a worldly person. It's already the Messiah has already come. The church has rejected even modified forms of this falsification of the kingdom to come under the name of millenarianism. It's another big word. Millenarianism, especially the intrinsically perverse political form of secular messiahism. Okay, well, I could have lots of things to say about that, because that is what the Jews are now believing what's going to happen. So we can't accept that form. It's not going to be a secular messianic age. The messianic age has come through Christ. Okay. 677. The church will enter the glory of the kingdom only through this. She will follow her Lord into his. Okay. Got my warning again, so hold on up till it stops. Looks like we are back. My internet just wants to go off all the time. Okay. So we're going to go back to 677. The church will enter the glory of the kingdom only through this final Passover, when she follows her Lord's death and resurrection. The kingdom will be fulfilled then, not by a historic triumph of the church through a progressive ascendancy, but only by God's victory over the final unleashing of evil, which will cause his bride to come down from heaven. God's triumph over the revolt of evil will take the form of the last judgment after the cosmic upheaval of this passing world. So we do believe it's going to be a big deal in the last days, just like Adventists do. There's going to be a huge persecution, and the Antichrist will come. Okay, so let's go to 6:7, to judge the living and the dead. So now we're getting into judgment. Following in the steps of the prophets and John the Baptist, Jesus announced the judgment of the last days in his preaching. Then will the conduct of each one and the secrets of the heart be brought to light. Does that sound familiar to Adventists? Doesn't that sound like the Great Controversy, Ellen White's Great Controversy? Each one and the then will the culpable that counted the offer of God's grace as nothing be condemned. So that's going to be when unbelief will be condemned. Our attitude about our neighbor will disclose or refusal of grace and divine love. On the last day, Jesus will say, "Truly I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these, my brethren, you did it to me." Save and to give his life, to give the life he has in himself. By rejecting grace in this life, one already judges oneself, receiving according to one's works, and can even condemn oneself for all eternity by rejecting the spirit of love. So it's very clear right there. When we come in front of the Lord for judgment, by rejecting his grace in this life, one already judges himself. See me or not, but if you can, we're back. When you go through life, do not reject love. All love comes from God. All true love is a gift of grace from God. Don't reject it. Accept God's love through faith. Be kind. As we all know what love is, all I have to look up is, but it's kind of interesting because to receive, you don't really need faith to receive love from our fellow men and women out there. Receiving love from an animal is the easiest. Receiving love from your children is that's pretty easy. But in general, mankind, we don't really, it goes against our grain. There's something about being really loved that we find hard unless we're regenerated through Christ. And I do think that there are people that quite literally do not want God's love. They hate love. And I know that's a crazy thing to say, but there are people that practice hate. There is a giving up of yourself. There's an opening up of your spirit when you accept God's love. And it can actually be painful. It is that breaking of oneself. It's the dying to oneself when you let God's love in you. And sometimes it is very, very painful. Now, don't ask me why. I don't know, but I just know that accepting God's love isn't super easy when you're an adult. But I plead with you, open that up. Get on your knees and pray to God that he give you that grace to be able to receive his love. You can't do it on your own. I suggest, this is my suggestion, is kneel down and invite Christ's grace into your heart so that it will stabilize you so that you can receive his love. And then don't turn away from it. Your life will begin to be changed. And then, of course, I'm going to say, why don't you join the Catholic Church? Because the Catholic Church is Christ Jesus' bride. It is his kingdom. It is his uh, family on earth. And that isn't to say that if you are a Protestant, that you are not a Christian. No, if you've been baptized, you are our brethren. You have the right. The Catechism says you have the right to call yourself Christian. But if you would like to be a part of the church that Christ started, yes, it's been around for 2,000 years. It's had billions of people in it. And of those billions of people, a lot of them have been rotten to the core. If you look 1/12 of Jesus' appointed apostles, 1/12, just take a 1/12 of a billion. I'm not going to do the calculations right now, but that's many, many, many millions and millions, percentage wise. If you spread that percentage out among uh, Catholics, you will see that if the percentage is of the same as Christ's apostles, we're going to have a lot of very bad Catholics, millions and millions and millions. And that doesn't mean it's not his church. His church is not going to look pretty until he comes. The church itself is going to be made spotless and pure, but that may not be for a while. In the meantime, stick with God's church. So, and don't believe what people tell you about it as far as what they believe. Go to the Catechism, and that's what we're trying to do here. All right. Love you guys, and we will see you next time. And what is our next one about? I don't know. I don't have it written down. Okay. God bless.